Hello and welcome everyone to episode 6, the 6th official episode of a Better Magic podcast brought to you by Team Better Magic based out of beautiful Indianapolis, Indiana. This is your host, Jared, and today I've got with me a very special co-host. We're switching up the batting order a little bit, and I've actually got our editor-in-chief, the guy who makes sure all the content on the Better Magic YouTube gets up for you guys to watch, and he makes sure everything's right with the Twitch stream so you guys can enjoy the content that we bring to you. Mr. Nick Cassidy. Say hi, Nick.
Hey everyone.
Yeah, so Jeremy's a little bit sleepy today, so we thought we'd switch up the batting order. So how are things, Nick?
Man, I'm doing great. Just school and work, and keeping an eye on the financial picks and everything. Make sure Magic is cheaper and affordable for everyone, so everyone can enjoy playing Magic, or for new players to get into Magic and not have to spend a ton of money.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on as kind of a guest host today is because I know there's not a ton going on as we're waiting kind of this next three or 4 weeks or so for Dragons of Tarkir to come out. There's not been a lot shaken up in either the world of Limited or the world of Constructed, really. So to have this show kind of more focused on helping people play Magic more affordably and how to build their collections, and I know that's something that you've been doing, in a really big way for the last, year and a half or so. So to have kind of your insight on what's working for you and what's not working for our listeners to listen to, I think, is going to be a lot more interesting than us just kind of rehashing the same old, that's basically been going on for the last, 2 months. So I'm super excited. I think it's going to be really fun.
I'm looking forward to it also. Sorry, I was coughing.
No, you're good, dude. Okay, so, I mean, what are we going to talk about today? So, one of the things we're going to do that's super special because Nick's on and one of our other resident limited specialists on Team Better Magic, Andrew, who you guys haven't met yet, but I hope you will soon. We'll probably have an episode with him where we talk about some, higher level limited strategy. But he suggested we do a Kraken pack. So we're going to do those to kick things off. And we'll also talk a little bit about us as a team going to play some Sealed in Cleveland. Yeah, that's going to be super exciting. So we've got a couple of us going. So we'll talk a little bit about that and our plans for that. And kind of to go along with that, I want to spend the first half of the show kind of talking to you guys about how to play Sealed, especially in Fate Reforged and Cons, which is a little bit tricky. It's a little bit different because you've got all these multicolored cards. And there are limitations on the cards you can play and the cards you should play. So I want to talk through that a little bit. I'll talk kind of briefly about the Open that happened last weekend in Los Angeles. It was Star City Games Open, and we saw some cool things come out of there. I want to give some shout-outs. And we'll close kind of with the big chunk of the show. Nick, I just want to pick your brain a little bit about what you've been doing, like as far as finance goes, as far as I know you're building a cube. I've got one that I built, and it was one of the best things I ever did with Magic Finance, and I know you're kind of running into similar kind of good luck, and you're building a really cool collection, so I want to talk to you about that. And we'll go through some finance picks for the weeks, and educate you guys on what to sell, what to buy, and why. And I think that'll be it. I think it'll be a really close, tight show today, so I'm super stoked. Are you ready, man?
I'm pretty ready. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm always ready. Man, this is going to be awesome. Okay, Nick. All right, without further ado, let's crack this pack, man. We've got one pack here that I won. I've already got the rest of my draft packs laid out for all the way up until Cons. So that's one of the things I do. We're lucky enough at our local game shop to be able to actually use the packs that we buy from them up front. To draft with, so we don't have to pay a fee to draft as long as we've already bought the packs from our game store. They're really fantastic about it. And one of the things I do to make my game more affordable is I'll buy a box or 2 boxes if I need to kind of mix and match packs. And for the entire season, I just, I have self-discipline. I don't open those packs right away, and I use them to draft with. So if I win, I get to essentially, as long as I've got my packs laid out that I'm going to draft with, anything I win is just icing on the cake, and I get to draft with them. So so out of the packs I won last night, there's one left, and we're gonna crack it for you guys today. Are you
I'm
excited,
interested
Nick?
on that. Yeah, I'm really interested. Let's get that Ugin.
Oh my God, dude. Let's see if we can get it. Can you hear this? Can you hear me opening this pack?
Yeah, we can hear it, man.
All right, I'm gonna smell it. You hear me smell?
Smells like you ruined the pack right there by sniffing it.
I ruined it. Oh no, I made it better. I made it the best. All right, let's talk through these. So, Avon Skirmisher is our first
Okay.
common. How do you feel about that guy?
Like 15th pick.
Yeah, easy. Yeah, piece of trash. Totally. Guy, I mean, he doesn't attack. He doesn't block. Yeah, he's not good.
Yeah.
Lotus Path Jin. Ooh.
Ooh, no,
I know.
that's
I know. As a team, we like this guy.
yeah. I definitely picked that like pack 1, pick 2. Definitely.
I mean, the card's insane. It's a 2/3 flyer for 4 in blue, which is like, that's hard to beat. First off,
Mhm.
and he has prowess. I mean, he can
Yeah.
just get bigger in the air. Yeah, card's fantastic. So that's kind of my pick right now. Hooded Assassin.
It's like a mid-level pick, like
Yeah.
maybe like a 10th pick if you're getting pretty desperate.
For sure. Yeah, if you need creatures, I absolutely agree. But I mean, otherwise, he's pretty terrible, right? I mean, you get like a 2/3 for 2, which is like, or for 3, which is like okay.
Yeah.
But then his destroy a damaged creature is like, meh.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of blocking that goes on in this format, to be honest. But
No.
so, okay, Ethereal Ambush.
That's an interesting card.
This is
It costs 5 if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So 3
And then,
colorless, a green and a blue.
like the only reason why I like it slightly more than what I did like pre-release and everything was the instant speed you can get from it is what you don't think that's someone's got a open board, no cards on the field that you just swing away, and then he just he pulls that off, and then he trades 2 for 2, or he gets you better. So
That's kind of what makes this card like super awkward for me though. Like you're right. Like I always get blown out by this card because it's like the one card I never really play, but then I don't have other people on because I don't play it. But the reason I don't like it is because it's like 5 mana instant speed to like get 4 power on the board, which isn't great, right? And then and usually at 5 mana, you're gonna have to trade both of those guys up.
mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then so you've essentially like 3-for-1'd yourself. Like, because it's not like it makes 2/2/2s, right?
Yeah.
It puts 2 cards from the top of your deck onto the battlefield that are 2/2s.
Yep.
Which can get super awkward. Like, what if you manifest like your bomb creature that you needed to win the next turn?
Or a removal spell. It's just super awkward.
That you needed to like not die, and now all of a sudden you've made it a 2/2 that you have to kill anyways, just to like double block their thing. Like, I don't know. I don't think it's that good.
And then you got to reveal it afterwards.
Yeah, well, yeah, that too, exactly. You're right. And so, like, your best bomb or your huge thing, and it just dies, and now they know if you're going to game 2 or game 3, like, yeah. I don't really like Ethereal Ambush that much, but, if I have to play it, I'll play it,
But, like, it just, you never think about it coming, You're like, maybe this guy doesn't have anything, and he just kills your Abzan guide. You just, like, it just blows you out.
Right, that is value, yeah. Okay, Abzan Advantage. What do you think about that card?
I think of it the same way as I've thought about it all along. It's just a decent. I mean, with them putting in more enchantments, it becomes a little bit better.
Sure.
Because any of the sieges just blows you out if they can get on the field.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like maybe an 11th or 12th pick.
Sure. I agree 100%. And don't forget the bolster one. Like, I think if you're playing just a heavy Abzan deck, it's just main deckable, but any other place, I agree with you. It just comes out of the sideboard to beat a siege, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Frontier Mastodon.
It's okay.
Snuffleupagus.
I think if you trigger Ferocious, it's value, but
yeah, totally.
Anything else, it's just eh.
Yeah, I mean, how do we feel about? Yeah, exactly. How do we feel about cards that have setup cost, right? I mean, it's like it's not great. Alesha's Vanguard. I do not like this card, man.
I think if you're running the deck for it, I think it's perfectly fine, like a 1-of.
Yeah.
But anywhere else, like you don't intend to pay its full mana cost. You just dash it in.
Yeah. Yeah, because like a 3/3 for 4 is like just really
it's just not really good.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like that card at all. Well, I like this card worse though. Defiant Ogre. Do you even know what that does? Tell me. Let me see if you know what it does, because I barely even know what it does.
Defiant Ogre, isn't that the red 4 and 1 red ogre that you can flash in if you have a blue or...
No, 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 no. That's Yeti.
Oh,
That
oh,
card's
that's...
good. This card's bad.
Is it... Is it a 4/4 that when it attacks or blocks you sacrifice it?
No, 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 no. That's in
No.
cons. Okay, so Defiant Ogre
Oh.
is really bad. So it's 5 colorless and a red for a 3/5. Okay, so let's get that
Oh
out of the way.
no.
And it's modal, so you can either put a 1/1 counter on it to make it a 4/5 vanilla for 6 mana, or destroy target artifact.
Oh, buddy.
That's card's a
You
piece
know
of trash.
life's rough when you have to play that to remove an artifact.
Yeah, that card's a piece of trash. Okay, moving on. Whisperer of the Wilds.
I think it fits fine in as a one of, possibly an Abzan.
Sure.
When you have that on the field, it's the only mana dork coming in here.
Yeah,
So
it is. Yeah.
And its ferocious trigger where you can tap for 2 is pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's definitely like a one of. I wouldn't grab two or anymore. I think it's just over just too much.
Yeah, no, I
don't-
agree.
and it's a 0/2, so it's just
Yeah. It doesn't even trade. Yeah. It's basically an enchantment.
yeah.
But no, I mean, I think it's like one of the premium green commons outside of like Hunt the Weak, basically. But
Yeah.
but it's still, I don't think it's better than a Lotus Bastion.
No.
So, oh, here's a point of contention. What about, how do you feel about collateral damage?
Collateral damage.
Yeah, I'm
no,
with you on
that's
that one.
it's ant to me. Like
Yeah.
I would not pick this until like maybe 6th or 7th pick.
Yeah, I would pick it much later than that. I've passed this card like 14th pick. I'm just like, this is like a point of contention in the community, even on our team, man. Like, I know people, like, I just know people are like, yeah, we'll take this card every time, and you get to trade up and like kill a thing, and I don't know, man. I'm just a believer in card advantage, and any card that's gonna make me like get rid of my card to like maybe get rid of your card, or like maybe deal 3 damage to you. Like, dealing 3 damage to you isn't even good unless you're at 3 life or like 1 life.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not even good. So I don't know. I can't bring myself to do it for one myself. But
Yeah.
so collateral damage is way down my pick list. Okay, here this one's interesting. So what about Hero's Blade? How do you feel about that card?
Hero's Blade, that's the one that you can attach to a legendary creature for no casting cost.
Correct. Yeah.
Honestly, it's just I don't think it's suited for this type of meta
Right.
of limited. It just costs too much.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because it got, I mean, a 2. Okay, so like a 2 mana CMC artifact that gives like +3/+2 is pretty good actually. Like if its equip cost wasn't 4,
Yeah.
right? So you have to take essentially a whole turn off just to equip this onto a thing, and that's bad. Like Trusty Machete was good in Zendikar Limited, because that card only costs 2 to equip. So it costs 1 to play, which is awesome, and 2 to equip, and it gives a creature +2/+1.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane. Like, that card was really, really, really good. And that format was super aggressive, right? But when we've got a Hero's Blade that costs 2 to play, it gives 1 more attack and 1 more defense, but costs but double to equip, where you essentially have to take a whole turn off, it's just nowhere near as good. Yeah. Ooh, here's a good one. How about Lightform, man?
Lightform. I actually have not played Lightform ever. I just never see it. But you can get it at Resolve. It's great. Like it's.
Yeah. I mean, the majority of the time you're getting a land, right? I mean, you're getting a 2/2 for 3, but like a 2/2 flyer for 3 with lifelink is still like a card I would play every day of the week.
Lifelink is so crucial in here.
Yeah, it's surprisingly relevant in this format. Like, you can gain a lot of life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, a lot of things have lifelink. A lot of things just gain you life incidentally. Like, the games can go pretty long in cons.
Yeah.
But yeah, light form. I don't know. So is light form better than Lotus Path Djinn?
I'm gonna say no in the fact that it's a double white mana cost.
Oh, really? Okay. I think I put it above Lotus Path Djinn, but I see where you're coming from. Like I don't disagree with you at all. Like I wouldn't fault you at all for actually taking Lotus Path over it because of that. For that very reason, yeah, for sure. Hmm. Okay, this one's good. Actually, this one's interesting. So, what about Merciless Executioner?
I actually surprisingly I really like the card.
Yeah.
Um, especially if you're running like a Mardu type deck where you are playing tokens of some type. You just play that onto the field and sacrifice a token and make him sacrifice one of his big cards. Like to me, that's value for me. Like
Yeah.
it does suck after it hits the field because it's a 3/1. But I would definitely put that as a fifth or sixth pick.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a lot better in that Mardu strategy you were talking about than any other place. I mean, the rest of the time it's still just like a removal spell, but you feel really bad if you're up against like the aggressive Mardu deck and
Hmm.
like you rip this guy off the top
Yeah,
and they've just got a bunch of tokens and you're like, oh, this
yeah,
is he literally at that point becomes unplayable and for that reason I don't pick him very highly. I think he's again you have to set him up to be good and that makes him less attractive in my eyes. But
yeah. I completely agree.
oh, here we go. This guy, we got a good rare. So the land, I'll tell you, is just a jungle hollow. So we got that. Okay. Dagatar the Adamant, the most adamant Dagatar there is.
Oh, that's a good limited pickup.
Yeah.
Definitely pack one, pick one. I've never
Yeah.
played it in limited, so I don't actually know what its full casting costs are.
It costs 4 mana. So 3 colors and a white for legendary creature, human warrior. He's Dagatar the Adamant. He has vigilance. When he hits the battlefield, he's a 0/0, but when he hits the battlefield, he comes into play with 4 1/1 counters. So he's a 4/4 for 4 with vigilance, which alone is like insane.
Yeah.
Like that's a good card, right? I know we've talked about him on the podcast before, but you can also pay 1 colorless and Golgari to move a +1/+1 counter from any target creature, any creature on the battlefield, to another creature on the battlefield.
I think the only downside, like, it's a great card, and from a limited perspective,
Yeah.
but it sort of already puts you into Abzan.
Sort of. Not necessarily, man. Like you can play him in Mardu.
I mean, you can, or you
He's
can
really good.
play him in like Bant or
Sure, totally, yeah.
green white, whatever. But like it
Esper,
just,
like, I mean, you
I
can do
guess
that.
that works in the black white warriors deck too.
Oh yeah, he's insane in that deck. Yeah, man, he's a
Um,
4/4 with vigilance for 4. Yeah, he's insane.
but I mean, like from a, essentially whenever someone's going to play this card, they're probably going to play one of the two suits, and that's the only downside about this rare is that it sets you up from the get-go, and yeah, it gives you something to look at, but you're also not picking the strongest cards that you think of the deck. You're picking cards to fit around the deck, so
Yeah, but I think you make a good point. But I think building a deck around a card that's powerful isn't a bad way to go in limited.
no, it's. I mean, that's what you want to do,
Yeah,
but if you don't have the backup, like you don't really get anything stronger. Now you
sure.
feel sort of bad for making this mediocre deck with Dagatar, and you don't really use its full potential.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah, but I mean, still, man, like a 4/4 vigilance creature for
Yeah.
4, like
Oh, it's great.
that's pretty good.
And you just steal counters.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's insane. Or like, if your Daggertar's gonna die, you can just move counters to something else. Like,
Hmm.
it's insane. Yeah. So Daggertar's the pick for sure. But what's the second pick?
I'd probably go Lotus Path.
Sure. I think I would put Lightform ahead of Lotus Path, but again, I don't fault you there at all. Either way.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think those are my top 3. Yeah. That's an interesting pack. That was a good pack one, pick one.
It was a good, solid pick. I mean, pack. It wasn't really weak. It wasn't too strong.
Yeah, there's some good picks there. But again, we've talked about it before too. Is the rare played a big part in our pick there? You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, 66% of these rares are just snap picks. You don't even think about the rest
Hmm.
of the pack. All right, man. let's move on. Let's talk a little bit about GP Cleveland.
Yeah. So for those who don't know what GP Cleveland is, it's going to be a sealed event, so it's individual. So the last GP we went to was team limited,
Mhm.
which we don't like talking about it, but
Yeah, our pool is a piece of trash. We lost in the first round to, I think we mentioned last time, we lost in the first round to Justin Cohen, who came in second at the last Pro Tour. So
yeah. So I think that's pretty cool. We did get the first buy ever. I mean, the first buy in all of the Grand Prix. So
yeah,
that's
there were only 600 other teams there that could have gotten the buy, and we got the buy. No big deal.
yeah. So we can honestly say we won a match.
We did, yeah.
Um, but this one's individual, so I'm really looking forward to it. It I don't know how it's going to be structured. Like if we're gonna get a sealed pool, construct the deck, and then pass it. I mean, well, we have to open the packs, pass it
Register.
around. Yeah, register it and pass it around. Um, but I think the thing I'm looking most forward to is going to Cleveland. I've never been to Cleveland, so maybe we'll get to meet LeBron James.
Maybe. Man, Cleveland's, I went there when I was really little, probably 4 or 5, so I don't really remember it a lot. But, yeah, we'll do that, and then we'll go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, man. We got to make some time.
Yeah,
Maybe we'll
man.
be able to do that on that Friday because it's from March 13th through the 15th. So we're gonna head down on Friday. A lot of people do that for GPs now that now that they kind of extended them to 3-day things, which is something that happened kind of in the last year and a half. The vendors now open up Friday for artists and other vendors to come in and people to hang out and do side events and stuff. So yeah, so we're gonna go on Friday, so we'll have some time. So maybe we'll do that and just get prepared and get some good sleep and maybe talk and have some practice and then rock and roll. So you want to talk through? I mean, how to do sealed at kind of a high level competitive event? I think that'd be pretty good for our listeners.
Yeah, yeah. I'm totally down for it.
Cool. So what we're gonna do? So I'll walk you guys through basically what we're gonna do. So like I said, we'll get there. I highly advise, if you go to especially a limited event now that's a GP, they're 3-day events. They're usually Friday through Sunday. If you've got the time, a lot of people get there early, like on Thursday, and hang out in the city. That Thursday, that Friday, kind of in the morning and the afternoon, and then they spend that Friday playing side events. That's something you can do. Like I said, I know we're going to do the Friday thing. But what you'll do on Saturday morning is there's usually always registration from either 9 to 10 or 10 to 11. So you want to make sure you get there early because there usually is limited supplies of the kind of freebies that you get for just going to a Wizards event. So this is usually maybe a die, maybe a deck box, most often a playmat, and a Grand Prix exclusive card. So the earlier you show up to that quote-unquote registration period, which for most people is just saying, hey, I'm here, because for most events you can register online, which is also something else that I highly advise you do. Make sure you get there early so you get the swag, because I know people who show up, late or way past the time they should have been there and don't get a thing. So it's something to consider, is waking up early and getting your cool free stuff. So for a sealed Grand Prix, what you'll do is you'll show up, you'll have about a 20-minute player meeting where the judges will tell you all about the event, they'll thank the sponsor, whatever, do all the pomp and circumstance, and then you will get your 6 booster packs. So for this format, you'll get 3 Fate Reforged booster packs and 3 Cons of Tarkir booster packs. What you'll do is you will then open them all up, separate them by color. I highly advise doing that. If you have multiple sets in your sealed pool, like this is going to be, you should also separate them by color and by set. Once you've done that, separate those different piles alphabetically, because Wizards or the judges will actually give you a sheet that has every single card in each of those sets listed out, and you need to mark how many of those cards, the specific cards themselves, you get in that pool. And you mark them all, in pen. You can do it in pencil, actually, if you need to erase. It's not actually a bad idea. And make sure you're accurate. And when you're done with that, make sure you put them back in alphabetical order, because what you'll be doing then is you'll be taking that pool, probably put a rubber band around it or something, and you'll be sending that to someone else down the table, and that will be their pool to build their sealed deck from. So if you make them waste time because you did not put your cards in alphabetical order and set order, you can get a warning, and you can even get a game loss if your sort of lackadaisical attitude is detrimental to their ability to build their deck. So that is huge. Keep that in mind. I think procedurally, that's all you need. Oh, and then once you get your pull from someone else, you'll have about 10 minutes to check it through. If something is not congruent with the pile of cards you have between the sheet of paper that you're given, you need to raise your hand immediately and call a judge, because they'll give you extra time to build your deck. And again, they have to issue that game warning to the person who registered your pool. So do not forget to do that. Do that immediately if you find anything wrong. Don't just brush it off, because that can actually screw up your ability to build a good deck. And then you'll have, it's anywhere between 20 minutes online for Moto. You can also do these kind of events online. But 40 minutes in real life usually is what you'll have to actually build your deck. Did I miss anything procedurally, Nick?
No, I think everything you've said is pretty much how everything goes.
Okay.
There is going to be a lot of stuff to do, and you're going to feel rushed, but you can't daydream or anything. You have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
When we did our team limited, it was just cons. Now you have 2 different sheets of paper essentially to fill out, because you have 3 and 3. So, and there's nothing wrong with asking judges for help if you have a question or anything. They're there to help anyone.
Yeah, that's a super good point. I mean, don't get frustrated. I've seen people do it, and freak out, especially if it's your first time doing one of these. I mean, it can really be kind of overwhelming, but just follow the instructions. I mean, separate your deck into piles of colors, alphabetize them, mark them down. Like, don't worry about anything else. You'll have plenty of time. They understand that it will take some people more time than others, especially if it's the first time they've done it. And just like Nick said, the judges get that. Like, they understand it. They're there for you. Raise your hand if you need some help. Don't think you can do it on your own if it's your first time doing a GP, because you can't. I mean, if you've never done it before, it is tough. It is not easy. So.
Yeah. Well, the one that we did was my first GP and first actual tournament. So I was pretty nervous, but you really don't have time to get that feeling of nervous when you're trying to make sure everything's done right. And practice is another thing. You definitely want to do. You don't want to go into this, especially a GP, with little to no experience. I mean, you can. I mean, that's great for if you're a new player. But this is, you want to get value out of this. Essentially you're paying $60 for the registration fee, and unless you were to upgrade it to the sleep-in special or VIP, or and a hotel. I know we're 5 hours out, and it will be we'll have to have a hotel. And with it being in Cleveland, it's not the best of best places. So you probably want to get a night. You don't want to wait on the hotel.
Totally, yeah. It's going to cost you money too, yeah. And so I mean, what Nick said is exactly right. So you've paid money to come here, right? Like, you've paid money to compete and to do well. You paid gas money, you paid hotel money, you paid registration money to get a pile of cards that you want to be competitive with. So if you haven't put in the time ahead of time to, try building your own sealed pools, or even just draft a bunch, just so you can memorize the cards and you can see them at a glance, and you can have some idea of what cards are, you can actually put in a deck and which ones you can't. That'll shave a ton of time off of your deck construction process, even off of just building your pool, on the offset. Like, the more time you can save, the more time you have to make the correct strategic decisions. So it will behoove you to get your practice in. So whether that's on Moto, Magic the Gathering Online, doing some drafts, you can do sealeds on there for relatively cheap. If you can get your local game shop to run some sealed events, go for it. If you can draft at your local game shop in anticipation of something like a limited GP, I highly recommend doing that. So just don't, if you're the kind of person who just loves cracking booster packs and you don't care about any of this stuff, then GPs probably aren't for you anyways. But if you are, and you're someone who wants to start going to GPs, I highly advise keeping those packs. Or if you're going to crack them, at least excuse me, at least crack them in groups of 6, and build a seal. See if you can build a sealed pool within a
Get a
time
time,
period, right?
yeah, get a time going and see how you're doing.
Yeah.
And especially if you practice and you get the first one out of the way, you really sort of get to see, like,
Hmm.
hey, do you think I could go back and spend a little bit more time focusing on this certain thing? Or if you have no practice, you probably believe that you don't have time to really give that a real serious thought.
Yeah, and that's
And those guys,
detrimental. Yeah,
yeah, and that makes or breaks a deck right there.
totally.
Especially when you're hovering between 2 colors of splashing for the third, or if you're going 2 color versus 3 color.
Hmm. So, okay, so that's all the procedural stuff. So now, if we're talking about Fate Reforged and Cons of Tarkir in particular, some of the just sagely advice I can give you. I've been doing a bunch of sealed daily events on Magic Online over the past week and a half, 2 weeks, and what I've learned is that you need to play to your fixing. So like even if you have ridiculous bombs, but you don't have the right fixing to splash them in your deck, you're not gonna be able to play them, or else you make your deck so much worse. Like you really do. So when you're opening your pool, one of the first things you need to do is look at what lands do I have to support different color combinations. Because if you can get to a 2-color deck and just splash a third one, that's awesome. That's great. That's what you want to do every day of the week. But if you have to play 3 colors, make sure you've got the fixing to support it, or else you're going to draw dead more often than not, and you're just going to lose. The other thing, though, I've learned is if you do have these format warping bombs, like these bombs that if you see them and you cast them, you just win games, that will give you the extra kind of incremental win percentage on top of just already building a good deck that will help you eke out those wins over other people who have just built, decent, good decks. Um, so, don't be afraid to play those bombs that if you play them are going to win you the game, but don't play other just like okay rares if they do not play to your mana fixing. Um, and that's basically all there is to it. Just build a decent deck with a decent mana curve. Play your bombs if you can play them. A card that has shined for me that it took me a while to warm up to, which I knew was like okay as a combat trick, but I didn't realize how much it can literally just win games when you draw it, is Timur Battle Rage.
I love Timber Battle Rage.
Yeah, dude, that
Um,
card has just out of nowhere just won me games. I'm like, what? This card is insane, and it's not results-oriented thinking necessarily. Where results-oriented thinking is a principle in Limited where maybe you've seen a card be good once or twice under very specific circumstances, and because of that, you think it's a card worth playing, right?
yeah,
What's different is that Timur Battle Rage actually has many different modes and is in and of itself. Not only have I seen it perform, I can understand in my mind all the different ways that that it is actually a very versatile card. So seeing it win a bunch helped me realize all the different facets, that it can play within your strategy, and that's why I want to play it, not just because I've seen it win, three or four times. So that's something as you're getting better at Limited, there's your level up advice for the day is don't be roddy. Don't be ROT, results-oriented thinking. Don't be roddy. That'll screw you up on evaluating cards. But when you do see a card really shine, understand why it shines.
I think the only downside I can say about Timber Battle Rage is that it's in a color that it doesn't have an extensive
Hmm.
um, power level compared to the others, and just specifically Fate Reforged.
Yeah, I mean, after like Bathe and Dragonfire, Timur Battle Rage, and Heel Cutter, the quality of just the cards you can get in your deck kind of falls off pretty hard.
Yeah.
So I'm with you 100%. Yeah, that is the downside, no question. Um,
But in the end, when you're making this awesome limited deck in GP Cleveland, you'll be on a awesome Flamewake Phoenix playmat.
that is true. Yeah. So the playmat that we get, if we show up on time and there's enough of them to go around, is Flamewake Phoenix. So that's pretty sweet. That's gonna be cool.
And
And we get up Oh, you can spoil it.
You get a promo Gristlebrand.
Yeah, man, that's gonna be so cool. I can't wait to throw that in my cube, dude. The
Oh,
card,
I'm
it
looking
looks really
forward to it.
cool. Yeah.
And a deck box. You also get a deck box.
Oh, sweet. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's great.
Hopefully one that will hold our deck.
Yeah, well, yeah, that is a very good point. Um, yeah, no, I'm super excited, man. I'm really glad we're gonna do this. I'm really looking forward to it. So, if any of you people are gonna be there, make sure to tweet us at playbetter. What's our Twitter? It's at Better Magic, right?
At Better Magic.
Tweet us at Better Magic or comment on this video that you're gonna be there, and we'll try to find you. Let's meet up if you see us there. That'd be really cool. So, all right, buddy. Let's go really quick through. We're making pretty good time here, man. You've been a great guest host. This has been fantastic so far. Let's talk a little bit about the SCG Open in LA. You didn't get to watch any of this, right?
No, but I did actually just look through the top 8 a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So it was interesting. Like, it wasn't anything. Jeremy and I had talked last week in the past couple episodes about just the decks that are kind of winning, and we didn't see much difference really in the field. I mean, it really was, again, like Jeremy was saying before, it was like 50% red-white aggro and then like some other decks, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's basically what it was. But I want to give a shout out to our buddy Dave Moline, who is Raging Gumby on Twitter. He's part of the in the podcasting world. He's part of the Heavy Meta SVU, which comprises podcasts that you should go listen to, like the Mana Deprived on ManaDeprived.com. I know they've got the A Team, which are some Canadian Magic players who really know their stuff, and they have a pretty long podcast about just Magic stuff in general, a lot like this one, but a lot more Canadian. Heavy Meta podcast, which are kind of the bad boys of rock and roll, kind of side of Magic. They're great to listen to. They do a pretty long podcast too, but Dave's kind of part of that group, and he's a really cool guy. I recommend going and listening to the stuff that he has, and the decks that he builds tend to be pretty out there and can warp formats if they're rogue enough. And he did it at SCG Open. He made it to the finals. In his semifinal game, he played this deck. The whole tournament, he played this Naya mid-range deck, which just played value creatures and coursers and caryatids and stuff, just to mana ramp his way up to big, powerful creatures. And the card that got him there, that allowed him to live that long, was Mastery of the Unseen. Yeah, surprisingly enough. I mean, how do you feel about that card? Like,
I played against it last night at RFNM, and once it hits the field, like if you get it down on turn 2,
yeah.
and you're able to play mana, it's a blowout. Like,
yeah.
It's like the fact that you can just manifest at instant speed,
yeah.
and but I mean, you're thinning out your deck and you're playing stuff that you may actually not want to manifest. So
yeah, it's tricky. So you're 100% right. So like, it's awesome if you get it on turn 2 and you play it down as enchantment that can just like manifest dudes. Like, that's in limited. That's like best case scenario. But you're right. But then it costs like 4 mana to get online, which is like an entire turn in limited. You know, like you're spending an entire turn to make a 2/2, and oops, I manifested my Crater's Claws. Like,
yeah.
I don't know. It's a little rough. Like, if your strategy though is to just make a bunch of dudes and block forever until you play your bomb, then it's really good. Which in standard, since you can streamline your deck a little bit more to make that strategy viable, that's kind of what Dave did in his deck. I mean, he was manifesting everything. He also played like Whisperwood Elemental, so those were manifesting cards. Mastery was manifesting cards, and Mastery also says whenever you flip one of those face up, you gain life equal to number of creatures that you control on the battlefield. Or is it all creatures?
For each creature, yeah.
It's just each creature on the battlefield?
Yeah, so you could just like
no, it's each creature you control.
Yeah.
So anyway, so he was like flipping stuff up and gaining, like he was at like 160 life or something in the semifinals where he won. Of course, in the finals, he gets run over by a well-built red-white aggro deck, and that deck's just fantastic.
Yeah, to me, that's the new Abzan mid-range of cons.
For sure, yeah. I mean, Abzan midrange is still good. I mean, it came in third.
Yeah,
Like
and
the
I
deck's
looked
still
at,
great.
like, the deck has shifted a lot since
Yeah.
I specifically was playing Standard.
Because I
Because,
know you built that deck twice. So
yeah, don't
yeah,
even get me started, man, on
I
that
know,
one.
I
That
know.
At least I found it. But,
Yeah,
like, Abzan's not running Caryatids anymore.
yeah.
Um, they're running a Tassiger, which makes
Huh.
sense.
Yeah, Tasker's,
Um,
I mean, fantastic too.
yeah. Um, and I think the only other thing is that their main board, like, Bile Blights. I think that's interesting. Um, but for the most part, it really hasn't changed at all.
Yeah. I mean, just value town creatures that attack super well against the format. I mean, what else do you need?
Yeah,
And yeah,
exactly.
and you have plenty of removal. Just get rid of their best stuff. So, I think it's a good deck still. If I played standard, I'd probably just be on Abzan mid range because it's safe. But
Yeah, I think I would go for something like Jeskai. I would probably
sure.
run Jeskai mid range or Jeskai something in standard.
Yeah, those builds are fun too. Even the Ascendancies deck is still around. Like it still
Yeah,
exists. It's kind of cool. It's fun. It's fun to watch.
yeah.
So, anyways, that was the SCG Open LA. Congrats to Chad White who won, and like I said, shout out to Gumby who came in second with a really cool kind of rogue build. So I was happy for him. That was cool. Okay, so we kind of switched stuff around a little bit in the show, Nick. We kind of went limited early, and then we talked only a little bit about standard. You know, we tried to keep it half and half, but I want to pick your brain a bit because I know what you and I spend the most time talking about and enjoying is, you know, Magic Finance, right? And I want to spend the next, you know, we got about 15, 20 minutes here, really just talking about what you've been doing as far as making your collection more valuable, right, from the cards you already have, building a cube, really accruing value with that cube, and really getting premium versions of cards into your cube to kind of maintain value. I know that's kind of one of the principles that you're building to. So, I mean, tell us why you started a cube, you know, in the first place, and what your strategy has been as far as getting cards for it. Because I think if there's any finance value that our listeners can get, it's really, even if they're not building a cube, right? Even if that's not their plan, it's really building their collection in general using some of the strategies you've been implementing. I think is super interesting. So I'm just gonna let you take it away, man. Go to bat on this one. This is you.
All right, so the whole idea behind me starting in Cube was I felt that the cards sitting in my binder were really just not retaining any value except for the stuff that was already rotated out. And, you know, it really started with me deciding to play a little bit more MTG Finance, very smarter. Um, like, I traded off my standard decks away, and I started drafting, which is a lot more value instead of cracking packs and just or buying cards. So, and I wanted my cards to retain value. That was my whole idea. And so I know Jared has a cube, and we've played it many times. And I was just like, you know, I could probably start up a cube from some of my stuff and or sell stuff into getting more premium versions. So that's exactly what I ended up doing. And you know, it's the great thing about Cube is that a lot of it just does not lose value over time. It just, if anything, it keeps on going up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, for example, I've been working hard into attaining one of the allied foil fetch lands, and you know, that kind of stuff to me is at its lowest peak. There's already so much open, and if anything, they're going to go back up.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been actually aggressively trading into stuff. Such as yesterday, I ended up trading away a bunch of stuff that's, like I said, it's just cluttering my binders that are stuff that I just don't need. And I picked up a lot of great value, not only for a modern deck, but also for Cube. And you know, that's always a great feeling when you're in a trade and you just pick up something from a guy's trade binder, and it's something that you could use in a cube that's a premium version.
Totally. Yeah.
And you know, I didn't accidentally start it. Like, I purposely just started it, but it's probably if I had to recommend anything for like people that are trying to become more like what I'm doing, start a cube. You know, you don't have to, you don't play it every day, but the cards are never going to lose value. And that's my big whole philosophy about it. And it allows you to play casual, but in a sense that you're playing the best cards ever printed in Magic history.
Yeah, it's
So
awesome.
um, I think that's really it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've done the exact same thing. I mean, that's, you know, I've said it a million times. You know, Cube was the best accidental investment I ever made. Like, for sure. Like, I just wanted to make a cube for fun and get good cards, and all of a sudden, Magic Finance took off, and all these cards became worth, like, you know, 10 times what they were worth when I was first acquiring them. And it's a great way to move, especially if you're someone like Nick, who had, like, a ton of Standard stuff because he was really into playing Standard for a while. But you realize that at rotation, you know, what, 90% of those cards don't retain any other value. So what I think, it's been awesome to watch you, Nick, you know, be very successful in moving those cards, you know, as they get popular in Standard, you know, and you're like, well, I don't need to play them. I don't need to play Standard, and moving them as they spike and are at the peak, you know, value of their value ever, right? Like their historical high. You'll move them into cards that retain, if not gain value, right? Like dual lands, like something like you got an Underground Sea, you know. I mean things like moving a ton of Standard stuff into that stuff that is only ever going to gain value is just a fantastic idea, and I could not recommend it more to those of you who, you know, who want to make your game more affordable, and for even for people who want to play Standard, right? I mean, even for people who want to play Standard, one of the things you can do is, as cards that you're not playing with, or if you already have a deck, let's say, and then you have a bunch of other cards that you're not playing with, and some of those gain value, you can trade those in for, like, credit to your local store, right? Or trade them into things things that will hold value. And then when the next Standard season rolls around, you can trade those things that you've traded into, those high value things, and then trade them into the Standard cards you need to build, you know, next season's deck. That's also a strategy you can take, and still keep your game a lot more affordable than just having to buy all the cards you need. Which is awesome. One of the other cool things that I know, as far as people wanting to build Standard decks, if you think about your investment in Standard cards, so let's say the only option you really have is to buy each individual card just for a deck, right? So the number one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to buy a booster box and try to crack all the packs to try to get the cards you need. Like, mathematically, it's just not going to happen. That's just impossible, right? But so first off, don't waste your money that way. Second, buy the cards that you know you're going to play. You know you're going to play for 18 months with, whatever. Do that, and then think of that investment essentially as renting those cards for you to play with until you're done with them. When you're done with them, or right before rotation hits and you know they're not going to be worth anything anymore, sell them. Sell them on eBay, sell them to your local store, trade them away to people who still kind of want to eke value out of them, and try to play with them for the next, you know, the last month or whatever that they're in a format. Go ahead and do that, though, and be cognizant of the fact that that is the only way you're going to get your value back. Because a lot of people will spend all this money, build a deck, and whoops, rotation happened, and whoops, my cards are, instead of this card being worth $20, it's worth $1. Like, oops, I missed it. And just being aware and being cognizant of the fact that you have to move off these cards to get your money back, and thinking of it essentially as a rental, thinking of your deck as a rental, is a great way to maintain some of that value and not just be throwing money down the drain every 18 months. So
I think the one thing that, to me, looking from a broad standpoint, that really I didn't want to play Standard anymore, is the fact that when you buy those cards, you're not going to play with that exact deck for 18 months.
Sure, yeah. Totally.
And to me, I don't think anyone could really stand playing it for 18 months in a row. And I think there are a few set of people that actually do that, but, like, for the most part, you play the deck maybe 1 or 2 months, and then you're like, there's a new thing or a new brew that just that's even better or more fun to play with, and you bought those cards and now you're going to trade them away. To me, you're just absolutely losing value, and you're wasting your money.
Yeah, I mean, you're 100% right because formats are never truly quote unquote solved, right? Because if they were, people wouldn't buy Magic cards. That's just how it is. Like, and R&D makes the sets; they don't even know them. Like, part of the design process for Wizards of the Coast is they say like we don't design these cards so well that we can figure out a format and build quote unquote the best deck. Like before we ever get to that point, we print the cards. Like we're just done with them. We go hands off. We don't want to ever figure it out because if we can figure it out, the community can for sure figure it out because they're playtesters. They have 30, 35 people total to figure out a format, right? So if 30 or 35 people can figure out a format in their design process, then 5 million people can definitely figure out a format, right? Like 5 million brains working on a puzzle is going to figure it out in like a minute versus 35 people figuring it out in a year. And they're very open about that. They're very so. I mean, you're never going to have a figured out format. So even if you do build a deck, you're absolutely right. You're not going to play it for 18 months because a better solution to the format is going to come out down the line. And the only time a format's ever solved is when like Cobblade comes out and they have to emergency ban Jace the Mind Sculptor and Stoneforge Mystic, right? And that sucked for those people who bought those cards, right? Like immediately, like they immediately lost value on those cards until those cards picked up again in Legacy, whatever. But anyways, the point of the story is like yeah. I mean, you're never going to have the deck that's going to be the most competitive in the format for very long, and then paying more money to upgrade that deck. It's a business. That's how they make money, and that's how they get money for their vendors. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine. So.
And just to sort of add on, Standard is very very fragile. The meta, there's nearly every week there could be a new deck that's just slightly better, and
Right.
to me, like that and the ability, like they can jump in and emergency ban something in Standard. It just, people who lost value on Jaces because of that, and
Yeah.
it just, to me, it's just too fragile for me to play.
Yeah, it's too risky. I mean, Standard is the most popular format, so chances are if you're listening to this podcast, that's what you're going to be playing. Sure, whatever. But if you want to start following our philosophies, I mean, play Limited. Like, just do it. Just buy some booster packs. You can get, for $12, you can get a draft set, right? But $12 you can buy, $20, or $12 you can buy half, essentially, of a $20 card that you may or may not play. So, I mean, think of it that way. And if you win in Limited, then you win some more product that you can then open up and trade and just gain your value. Whereas, because you're up against 7 other people, right? But if you build a Standard deck, which you spent $400 on, and you go to an FNM, if you have a decent sized FNM, you're up against 25 other people, and the odds are against you. So it's all math, and it's just things for you to think of about while you're playing. But if you love Standard, go for it. Don't let us stop you. But just know how to make your game more affordable. Don't be one of the people that just throws money away into the game. Don't be one of those people if you can help it. Okay, so let's close out, Nick. Let's move off of that. Actually, wait, no. Tell us some of the cards that you got recently, because these were really cool. So give some examples give the people some examples of things you've moved into to kind of retain some value, because I think you've gotten some really cool pickups lately.
So this past week last week and this week, I managed to trade into an LP Liliana of the Veil, a foil Flooded Strand, a Grand Prix promo Umezawa Jite.
Oh, that thing's so pretty.
And a couple of smaller from the vault versions of cards. But I mean, the fact that I spent I think I spent $4 on in leftover from trade value on the Flooded Strand. I think that's all I spent in the 2 weeks of gathering $400 worth of value.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah.
It's
and it's not hard to do, right? I mean, you just need to show up and be in the right place at the right time and be willing to trade away your cards. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Something that if you're gonna follow this, what I've been doing, you have to learn how to barter with the vendor.
Totally.
or the person that's trading. That's absolutely necessary because if you don't question their price or anything, they could give you something 40% and you just don't even notice. Um,
Yeah.
and what's the worst thing that happens? They say no. They're not going
Right.
to kick you out of the store. They value your business, and especially if you're doing something like what I'm doing, they want to get rid of this stuff that's premium because it could sit there for months.
It's tough for them to sell. Yeah.
Yeah, and rather they trade into a bunch of standard stuff they can move is complete value to them.
Yeah.
So both sides are really getting what they want, and to me that's perfectly fine.
Yeah. I mean, there's bartering is one of the best things you can do. I'll always ask, for if it's even if it's some weird value, like someone's like, oh, I'll give you, $49. I'll say, well, hey, it's easier on you, to get the bills out if you give me like one more buck. You know what I mean? And just the little tiny incremental things that you can do to make your side of a trade or selling your cards a little bit better that vendors don't even think twice about. And over time, you can really start accruing some value. But also don't go into a vendor conversation without knowing the value of your stuff either. I mean, do
Yeah,
your homework. It doesn't take that long. Everybody's got access to the entirety of human knowledge in their pants. So I mean, like, don't be afraid to whip out your smartphone and figure out what your stuff's worth before you talk to a vendor. All right, dude. Let's close out here with some finance picks. So I know we've talked a little bit about the theory, and we kind of spent about 15, 20 minutes on that, and that was awesome. I love that stuff. But let's just the little bit of the little tidbits, the little candy information on what are you picking up right now to move quickly off of? I mean, like what are cards to sell? What are cards to buy? What are you looking at right now?
um, definitely getting off of alpha sieges. Um,
Yeah,
those were I don't know if they were historically went below $1, but if you could have like pre-sale snatched 20 of them because you thought that card draw in red is great, then you are making it like a robber. You are stealing it right there.
yeah.
Um, I hate re-picking finance picks, but Eidolon the Great Rebel, man, you got to get them. They're never gonna be this low
You're so ridiculous.
again.
So, full disclosure, Nick has about 50 Eidolons of the Great Rebel. I think they're a great card, though. I don't disagree with you at all, yeah. And they keep getting hype the more modern events. I mean, think about it. So the community made such a hubbubaloo and such a fuss about bringing a modern Pro Tour to the screen, right? Like, because they weren't going to have a modern Pro Tour. They were going to have another standard Pro Tour, right?
Yeah,
And the community, the people who buy Magic cards, right, said, no, we want at least one modern Pro Tour. And Wizards caved, and they said, okay, we'll do it. And what that did is it put Eidolon of the Great Rebel, in front of the camera, right? So the people who say, hey, we want to watch Modern, we want to play Modern, we want it to be a thing, get their way, and then see a card like Eidolon the Great Revel, those are the same people who are going to go buy Eidolon of the Great Revel and push its price up because they are going to put demand pressure on the supply pool of Eidolon of the Great Revel. So it's just something to think about. But if you can get them for $4 or $5, if you can trade into them at 6 or 7, this is probably not a bad time to do it.
yeah. Anything more than 5, I think.
Yeah, for cash, no way. Yeah.
For cash, yeah, because it's hard to really value what it will be in a year.
Yeah. I mean, I said it. We said it. I think you and I have talked about this for a long time, but I think that's like a $15, two converted mana cost card forever.
And run as a 4 of.
Yeah. Totally. Yep.
I'm also gonna name another card. I'm gonna say foil removal in standard right now. Specifically of casting 3 or less.
Really? What do you mean?
Like Anger the Gods.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Drown in
That's
Sorrow.
That's perennial. Yeah. Drown. Yeah. Sure. Drown. Sorry. Yeah. It's interesting.
And even like stuff that just recently rotated, like Mizium Mortar foils. These
Yeah.
are, to me, these are going to be climbing in the future because of tiny leaders. And to me, I think they're great pickups to trade into. I would not spend cash on them.
Sure. Yeah. Tiny leaders is a thing. It's not a huge thing here in Indy, but I know on the East Coast it's growing like exponentially. I know like up in Michigan where a lot of the pros are from, there's a lot of people trying out tiny leaders. There's buzz all over town. Um, Again, not a lot here where we are, but that's great for us or people in the Midwest who want to start picking these cards up because they haven't been affected by the buzz or the hype yet. That's a good point. It's funny because you said standard foils, and in my brain I was like, well, the percentage of people who play foiled versions of their standard deck
Yeah.
is like a 0.00001% of the population. But then when you said tiny leaders, I was like, oh, I get it. Yeah, I mean you're totally right. These converted mana cost 3 or less premium removal spells, in their pimped out versions, is kind of a no-brainer, right? I mean that's like, why not
Exactly.
grab them if you can? I think it's a great pick. Yeah.
You got any picks?
Yeah, so the thing we've been talking about kind of at Team Better Magic is kind of rares that have what I like to call kind of historical analogs. So the one we've been talking most often about is, what does the future hold for a card like Blood-Soaked Champion, right? So, I mean, the card's like a buck, less than a buck, but its historical analog is a card like either Gravecrawler, which has a very similar effect. They're both 1-drop, 2/1 creatures that recur from the graveyard, right? And Bloodghast is another one. Gravecrawler is $6 in paper now. When it was first, a huge deal. Um, it was like $8. I think its historical high is something like $9 or $10, because it was played, right? When it was played, that's how much it was. So if you can get Blood-Soaked Champion, all of a sudden it fills the same kind of slot, same kind of role, some kind of deck as Gravecrawler did. All of a sudden your $1 common becomes a $10 common, an $8 common, right? Which essentially that's free money. And the only reason I would ever say to make a pick like this if you can get him for a buck is because the risk is so low, right? So if you get in at a buck, you can usually trade them out at a buck, even if they never get played. So the risk is very low if you can trade into as many copies as you can get your
I,
hands on. So
I think we could actually see this jump. I could easily see this as a $3 or $4 card, maybe even a $5 card.
sure.
Um, it all depends. When we go back to previous 1-drop black, they had decks around them, mono
Yeah.
black, and at the moment, 3-color decks are still a major thing.
Right.
But
Yeah. You're absolutely right. So that was kind of the last part of my point there, is that you're right. They won't see any sort of movement, unless it finds a deck, and it has to. But if it does, that's an $8 card. I mean, that's just how it is. That's what history says is the case. So, but
I don't think I have any more picks. I had one for a second, but I completely forgot about it.
but then I forgot what it was. No, and we see the same again. Cards that have analogs where you can go back and look at the price history of very similar cards. Those are always your best bets because you can make kind of informed decisions. And Bloodghast is another one kind of goes along there with Blood-Soaked Champion. Um, Anything else? What about fetches? Do
I
you
think
keep them or do you sell them?
I've been sort of picking up and selling. Well,
Okay.
not selling, trading. I've been doing a little bit of both.
Yeah.
My whole philosophy on that is there's so many in circulation.
Yeah, there's a ton.
It's not like not a lot of people are hoarding them just because there's so much in print. So if I get rid of my cards for something that I could put in my cube and then
Yeah.
reattain them later at maybe losing a couple bucks, like $5 or $6 in the long run, I mean, I think that's something that I'm perfectly fine with. But I don't expect to see fetches go up.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I don't think they're going to go up,
But
within the next
if you can
2-3
trade
years.
stuff that you don't like into fetch lands, sure, that's perfect. They're not going to go down. They're
Totally.
just it's just a matter of how long until they go back up.
Yeah, not a ton of room to grow in the immediate future, but they're definitely not going to lose value. I mean,
No.
so I can't agree with you anymore. I mean, like, you got crap that you don't want. Eye your buddies' fetch lands and say, hey, I know you want to play these cards that I don't want to play. Well, are you willing to get off your fetch lands and make it happen? It's pretty easy. Again, that is Magic Finance Fun 01.
Fun 01.
That's what we're gonna name this episode, Magic Finance Fun 01. Um, but seriously, I mean, like if you want to make your game more affordable, just make the smart calls. You know, never make a bad call, essentially. And if you do make a bad call, at least mitigate your risk, right? Only make the lowest risk call as you can, because if you get burned, it's not a big deal. So until you've got the capital to really fund really risky movements, just don't do it. Right? You know, make your game more affordable by looking at the history of how the Magic community really pushes price trends, and make your decisions from there. And if that's the one thing you take away from this podcast this time, it's just do your homework, right?
Exactly. I've got a question for you.
Okay, one question and then we're out of here.
What are you looking at anything as far as trading into at GP Cleveland?
Oh, that's an amazing question, dude. So GP Cleveland's going to be awesome because, you know, even if we don't do well, I know you and I both have stuff that we want to, you know, buy, sell, trade. You know, right now, because we don't know what's in cons, there's not anything that really strikes my fancy. You know, I'm with your call on Tiny Leader stuff. That's cool because that might become a thing, and I think that's pretty low risk. If I see some cool, you know, three costs or less, you know, legendary creatures that are in pimp promo versions or something, then maybe I'll try to grab those. But otherwise, not really, dude. I'm just gonna sell stuff that spikes around that time, you know, because there'll be some more SCG opens and a couple other standard Grand Prix around the same time. So, you know, I'll get out of standard stuff. But no, I mean, I'm looking to basically pay for the cost of my hotel room by selling some random crap. But other than that, no. I wish I had a better answer for you, but no. What about you, man? Are you just going to sell stuff or buy stuff or what?
I don't. I'm gonna try and keep my buying costs down.
Sure.
I think definitely finishing out my modern deck is definitely something I may look into.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's gonna be feasibly possible. There's a bunch of stuff I still have to get. And I would love to see a good pricing on a promo Ugin.
I think $200 is just gonna be. I think that's gonna be eternal, man. I think it is. I think it's stuck. I think the price is very sticky at 200. So.
I think if I could find one for maybe $150, I will heavily take a look into getting it. But I think besides that, I'm just gonna finish out the modern deck.
Right,
and have fun with the bros.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have a good time. But I mean, you're 100% right. I mean, like, would you rather trade into like a couple old school dual lands that are not gonna get reprinted for $200? Right, like a Bayou and then like a Badlands or something, or like a promo Ugin Planeswalker that you might not even put in cube. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, to me, like at the moment, I'm just not willing to trade into $200.
Yeah, it's crazy.
$200 gets you a tropical, not a tropical island, like a Tundra.
Yeah, easily. Or if you want to play standard, like you can get a lot of a deck for $200. You know what I mean? Like you can still build a deck. Like it's insane. Yeah.
Like I would much rather just spend it on really, really nice DCI promos or dual lands. Exactly. Totally. Get me a proxy Black Lotus to get signed.
Oof. Yeah, that'd be awesome, dude. Yeah. Or even a gold border. There's a gold border one.
Yeah, I know.
It's the same art. Okay, man. I think this is a great podcast, man. We got a ton of content, a lot of cool stuff. We were able to talk about, you know, limited and standard, and kind of dive deep into your personal finance philosophy and a lot of the same truths that I hold near and dear. And you know, I love talking about that kind of stuff and going through that kind of stuff with you. And I think our audience is apt to learn a lot. So hopefully we'll have you back and talk to you some more often. But thanks for hanging out, Nick. This is great.
I love coming onto the podcast and just putting in my own perspective. You know, you and Jeremy are for the most part the main co-hosts, but I like switching it up every now and then, and even throwing in a new person who you guys haven't met yet.
Yeah.
I'm perfectly fine with, and anytime you guys want me to come on and podcast, I'm more than happy to.
Great. Well, we look forward to it, and let's make sure this becomes a more regular thing. So hopefully we're able to give you guys some good advice on keeping your collection cheap, or at least affordable, and growing value. And until next time, don't forget to play better Magic.